There are moments in life that brand themselves into your memory, not like a photograph, but like a burn. Mine started with a scream I never heard, not because it wasn't loud enough, but because it hadn't happened yet. It was a late September afternoon in Portland, Oregon. The air smelled like rain and dying leaves. I had taken my son Tyler to a park near our neighborhood, one of those cozy little places with a rusted slide and creaky swings that always seemed to moan even when no one was on them. Tyler was 6. Brave, reckless, full of that wild energy only kids seem to carry without consequence. I sat on a bench near the sandbox, scrolling through emails, half watching, half daydreaming. Then I heard it. Tyler. Just once. Deep, calm, male. I barely registered it at first. Kids' names echo all over playgrounds, but then, again. Tyler, buddy. Come here. There was something off about it. The way the voice stretched his name. Too familiar. Too sure. I looked up, and I saw him. A man. Crouched low behind the plastic slide like a predator hiding in tall grass. His smile was wrong. Too wide. His arms stretched open like he expected my son to run into them. Tyler had stopped running. He was frozen mid-step, one foot hovering in the air like he was about to take off, toward the man. My stomach dropped through the bench. Tyler! My voice cracked sharp through the air. My son jolted, startled, and turned to look at me. I waved him over, trying to stay calm even as every cell in my body screamed. He jogged back, confused. I grabbed his shoulder. Tighter than I meant to. Do you know that man? I asked, my voice low. Tyler shook his head. I turned my eyes back toward the playground. The man had straightened up, hands now in his jeans. That horrible smile still lingered on his face. But it was smaller now. Like he knew he'd been caught. We're going home, I muttered. I didn't look back. But all night I couldn't shake the image. Those outstretched arms. Like he had been waiting for my son. Like it was planned. And it was. I just didn't know how far it had already gone. That realization came later. When Tyler looked up from his pillow and asked, Dad, why didn't you let me go talk to my friend? That question, why didn't you let me go talk to my friend, shoved a cold spike through my spine. What friend? I asked carefully, keeping my voice steady. Tyler pulled the blanket up to his chin, his big eyes looking at me like I was the one who didn't understand. The man from the park, he said simply. The one with the hoodie. My skin went cold. You said you didn't know him. I don't. Not really, but we've been talking. Talking. That word echoed through my skull like a scream in an empty church. For how long? I asked, trying not to let the panic show. He thought for a second. A few days. Since last week. He stands by the fence at recess. He always waves. Sometimes he asks what games I like. My hands clenched into fists, pressing deep into my thighs to stay calm. What else does he say? Tyler shrugged. He told me I'm cool, that he has a puppy, a fluffy one. He said I could come pet it if I wanted. He'd bring it to the park. My heartbeat went from a steady thump to a deafening roar in my ears. Did you tell a teacher? He shook his head, confused. Why? He's nice. I smiled at him. Fake. Mechanical, and brushed his hair back from his forehead. You didn't do anything wrong, buddy. Go to sleep, okay? I'll leave the nightlight on. But I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room with the lights off, the soft glow of the hallway nightlight barely cutting through the darkness. And I watched the door, waiting for a knock. Or worse, a shadow passing by the window. The next morning, I called in sick. I wasn't about to send my son to school while he was still out there. I parked a block away from Tyler's elementary school, tucked behind a line of SUVs and minivans. The chain-link fence surrounding the playground looked harmless until I realized how easy it would be to watch from the tree line just beyond it, and then, like some nightmare summoned on cue, I saw him. Same hoodie, same damn smile. He stood by the far corner of the fence, partially obscured by a tree. He wasn't doing anything, just watching. Still. Calm. Like a man watching fish in a tank. I got out of the car and walked toward him. My hand shook. Rage, building with every step. He noticed me when I was halfway there. For a moment his smile faltered, just for a second. Then he smirked, like he recognized me. "Hey there," he said smoothly. "Something wrong?" I stopped 5 feet from him. My voice came out low and tight. "Why are you talking to my son?" His smile widened. "Just being friendly. Nothing illegal about that." "Stay the hell away from him," I hissed. He laughed, soft and patronizing. "He's the one who talks to me." My hand shot out, grabbing the front of his hoodie, slamming him against the fence. "If I ever see you near him again..." Pain, white hot, a line of fire across my ribs. I staggered back, breath hitching. I looked down. Blood. Not a lot, but enough. He had a knife. Small. Discreet. Held low. Almost invisible to anyone else walking by. "I'd be careful," he whispered, voice dripping venom. "This isn't a fight you want." My hands trembled, fists curling with the urge to put him in the dirt. But I couldn't. Not here, not with kids just feet away on the other side of the fence. I watched as he walked away, casual, almost amused, like he hadn't just stabbed a father in broad daylight. I filed a report. I told the school, called the cops. But it didn't matter. There were no cameras, no witnesses, no name, no solid threat to press charges. They said they'd keep an eye out, but they weren't the ones having nightmares of wide smiles and outstretched arms. And Tyler. He still talked about his friend, like the man had never hurt anyone, like he was just a buddy on the playground. And all I could think about was the knife, the look in his eyes, and how damn confident he was. Like this wasn't the first time he'd tried this, and worse, like it wouldn't be the last. The following week was a silent parade of paranoia. I walked Tyler to school. I picked him up. I slept in short bursts, the baseball bat beside my bed. Every unfamiliar car parked near the house made my skin crawl. Every knock at the door made my pulse spike. But days passed. Nothing happened. And then, Tyler brought home a drawing, crayon on construction paper, blue sky, stick figures, a house. All normal. Except in the corner, behind a tree, was a figure in gray. No face. Just a hoodie. "Who's this?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He shrugged. "My friend." Stared at it. The proportions weren't childish, they were deliberate. The man's arms were long, too long, almost reaching toward the house. He said he might come visit soon, Tyler added, like he was telling me what he had for lunch. My throat tightened. I didn't say a word, just nodded, smiled, and went straight to my laptop after he fell asleep. Doug pulled up old community reports, school alerts, missing child notices, and I found something. 3 towns over, 6 months ago, a boy named Aiden, same age as Tyler, disappeared after school. The only clue, a classmate said Aiden had been talking to a man at recess for days. The composite sketch chilled me to the bone. It was him, the same damn smile, same hoodie, same shadow behind the fence. I called the detective on the case, left voicemails, emailed screenshots. No response, no update, just silence. And then, that night, something changed. At 2:41 a.m., my phone vibrated. No ringtone, just a low buzz that pulled me out of shallow sleep. A text from an unknown number. No name, no photo, cute drawing. Looks just like me. I froze. My stomach turned to ice. I jumped out of bed and ran to Tyler's room. He was asleep, peaceful, rabbit plush under his arm, but the window, the goddamn window, was open, not wide, just an inch, just enough to let in the cold night air, just enough to whisper. I slammed it shut, locked it, closed the blinds. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely turn the latch. I checked the cameras. The one on the porch was still online, the backyard too. But the side gate camera? Black screen, disconnected. I rewound the footage. At 1:58 a.m., everything was fine. By 2:05, static, nothing but a hiss. I called 911. Again. They came. Again. Checked the house. Nothing. No footprints, no forced entry, no sign of anyone. But I knew. I knew he had been there. Maybe not inside the house, not this time. But he was close. Watching. And he wanted me to know it. I couldn't risk it anymore. Not with Tyler. We packed a bag that night and drove 3 hours north to my sister's place. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. Told the school we were leaving town. I told my boss I was working remotely. I filed another police report and sent everything to the FBI tip line. Still no answers. But the dreams started. Not Tyler's. Mine. Dreams of hands reaching under the bed. A knife pressed to my ribs. A man whispering my son's name from inside the closet. Dreams where I'd wake up, and the front door would be unlocked. Even now, months later, I check every camera, every window, every goddamn inch of every room, every night. Because I know he's still out there, somewhere, waiting for the next playground, the next kid, the next father too distracted to notice. And sometimes, when Tyler sleeps with his window cracked open just a little too far, I swear, I can hear it, a whisper through the trees calling his name. Do you know what true horror is? It's not blood, it's not screams, it's hearing your 5-year-old whisper something that makes the air in the room feel heavier. Mommy! He's back. That was the 3rd night in a row. And that was the moment I stopped pretending it was just a phase. We had just moved to a quiet town outside of Asheville, North Carolina. New house. New school. Fresh start. I told myself the creaks in the floor were normal, that the shifting shadows in Olivia's room were just her imagination adjusting to a new place. But there's only so many nights you can hear your child talk about the man in her closet before something inside you cracks. The first time she mentioned him, it was casual, almost innocent. I was tucking her in, pulling the blanket up to her chin. She reached out and grabbed my wrist with her tiny hand. Can you tell the man to stop watching me? I smiled, half listening. What man, honey? She pointed, not just at the closet, but into the crack beneath the door. He stands there, she whispered. He watches when it's dark. A cold ripple crept up my spine. Sweetie, there's no man in your room. Maybe it was just a dream. She shook her head so hard her hair bounced. No. He's real. He's always there. I opened the closet, of course, pulled the light on, moved her dresses, her shoes, her toy bin. See? Just clothes. She didn't look relieved. She looked frustrated, like I was the one who didn't get it, and that should have been my first clue. That night, I left the hallway light on. I stayed, awake longer than I meant to, staring at the baby monitor app on my phone, watching her tiny body curl into the blanket still and safe. But around 3:07 a.m., something flickered. The monitor glitched, just for a second. Like static, a blur across the screen. I sat up, heart suddenly pounding. Rewound the feed. Played it again. There it was. A flicker of motion. Just outside the closet. I told myself it was nothing. Compression artifact. Lag. Anything but what it looked like. The next morning, Olivia said nothing. Ate her cereal. Played with her cereal spoon like any other day, until I told her I had checked the closet again, and she said, "He's mad at you now." I told myself it was a coincidence, a child's imagination, a weird glitch on a cheap baby monitor. But deep down I knew. Something was off. I started sleeping with my door open. I left Olivia's room cracked too, just enough so the hallway nightlight could spill across the floor like a protective barrier of dim gold. But every night, it felt dimmer. Olivia changed. Slowly, subtly. She stopped playing with her dolls. She flinched when the closet creaked. She never wanted to sleep with the door closed, not even a little. And then one night, as I tucked her in, she looked up at me and whispered, "He said you shouldn't look at him anymore." My blood ran cold. I tried to stay calm, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Who said that, sweetheart?" She didn't answer. She just turned over and pulled the blanket to her neck. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed staring at the hallway camera feed, watching the shadows shift just beyond Olivia's door. Around 2:58 a.m., I heard it. A creak. Not the soft kind. Not the kind a house makes when it settles. This one was long, slow, like someone putting their weight on the wrong floorboard. Then another. Closer. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera feed. My heart froze. He was there. A tall figure, just outside her door. Standing perfectly still. He wasn't wearing a mask, but his face didn't make sense. The shadows swallowed it wrong. It was like my eyes refused to focus, like my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. He didn't move. He didn't reach for the door. He just stood there, like he had all the time in the world. I wanted to scream, wanted to run in there, swing the bat under my bed and split his head wide open. But I didn't, because for the first time in my life I was paralyzed with fear. Not for me. For my daughter. I dialed 911, voice shaking. "There's someone in my house, right outside my daughter's room." The operator told me to stay calm. Officers were en route, but by the time I stepped into the hallway, bat raised, breath ragged, he was gone. The door to Olivia's room was still closed. She was asleep, rabbit plush clutched tight. I checked every room, every window, every lock. Nothing was broken, nothing forced. The officers arrived, guns drawn, sweeping the house. They found nothing. No footprints. No signs of entry. No face on the cameras, only the outline. Like the man was made of smoke instead of skin. Then one of the officers pulled me aside. "You said your alarm was armed?" "Yes. All night." He frowned. "There's no breach. And based on your system log, no door or window was open tonight." I didn't say anything. Because deep down, I already knew. The man hadn't come in tonight. He had never left. We left that night. No packing, no brushing teeth, no goodbyes. I carried Olivia in my arms, still half asleep, rabbit clutched tight against her chest. I didn't even turn the lights off. We drove to my sister's house 2 towns over. I didn't tell her everything, just enough. She didn't ask questions. The next day, I filed a full police report, sent them the camera footage. I even uploaded it to a private link in case it got mysteriously corrupted or vanished. The officers were polite, professional, but I saw it in their eyes. They didn't believe me. They thought I was a single mom unraveling under stress. But I know what I saw. I know what Olivia felt, and I know what the officer said next will haunt me until the day I die. "There's no record of that room being broken into," he said. "No forced entry, no prints. And based on your security system." He hesitated. "What?" I asked. He finally looked me in the eye. "Ma'am, if no doors or windows were opened, then whoever that was already inside your house before you locked up." That sentence broke something inside me, because I'd checked every room, every closet, every crawl space. But had I really, or had I just done what we all do? Glanced inside, told myself the shadows were empty, moved on. I didn't go back to that house. I hired movers, changed every lock, sold it within the month. Olivia never spoke about the man again, not once. But I started watching her closer, at night, in the morning, on the rare moments when she'd stare too long into a dark corner. Still check the cameras at 3:00 a.m., even now. Because here's the truth. He never left a message, never broke anything, never made a sound. He didn't need to. He'd been invited in, by trust, by innocence, by our failure to listen. And I still don't know how long he was there, how long he watched, how many nights he stood just inches away, breathing the same air as my child, cloaked in silence. But I do know one thing. When Olivia says, "I don't like the closet anymore, Mommy," I never ask why. I just close the door, and I leave the hallway light on. It started with a whisper, not one I heard out loud, but one I felt, the kind that crawls up your spine when your instincts scream, "Something is wrong with my child." My daughter Emily was 17, smart, independent, not the kind of girl to cry wolf. So when she paused at the dinner table one night, fork hovering in midair, and said, "Mom, I think someone's been following me," I didn't dismiss it, but I also didn't understand what she meant. She said it casually, like she was trying not to make a big deal out of it. "He's not close or anything, just always there. Across the street when I walk home, same guy, same spot." My stomach twisted. "What does he look like?" I asked. She shrugged. "I don't know. Older, 40s maybe. Kinda average, but he always wears the same jacket. Gray. And he watches me. Doesn't move. Just stands there." I wanted to believe it was nothing. A neighbor. A coincidence. But Emily wasn't the dramatic type. And there was something in her eyes that night. Something quiet and afraid. I told her to take a picture next time, just in case. She nodded, and I didn't sleep. The next day, I parked a block away from her school, trying not to look suspicious. My heart pounded every time someone passed by the car. Then at 3:14 p.m. I saw her, Emily, laughing with her friends, walking toward the crosswalk like everything was normal. And then she stopped, pulled out her phone, took a quick photo. Her smile vanished. She looked straight across the street, then turned and walked faster. When she climbed into the car, she didn't speak until we were moving. "He's still there," she whispered. "Same place, watching." I pulled over and looked at the photo. My hands went cold. There he was, a man in a gray windbreaker, standing behind the chain-link fence, face blurry but expression clear, blank. Still, wrong. There was something about his posture, too relaxed, too confident, like he wasn't afraid of being caught, like he wanted to be seen. I didn't care if I was overreacting. This was my daughter. The next morning I dropped her off myself, then parked nearby and waited, and there he was again. Same jacket, same blank stare, same unnatural stillness. But this time, I didn't stay in the car. I got out and walked toward him, keeping my face neutral, heart hammering in my chest. He saw me, watched me approach, didn't move, didn't speak. And just as I got close enough to confront him, he turned and walked away. Not in a hurry, not startled, just gone. That should have been the end of it. But it was only the beginning. Because 2 days later, I saw him again, at the mall, 20 miles away, leaning against the escalator railing, facing us. And that's when I realized he wasn't just following Emily home. He was following her everywhere. The moment I saw him at the mall, something in me shifted. We weren't near her school. We weren't in our neighborhood. And still, he was there. He wasn't looking directly at us. He was pretending to be interested, in the window display of a shoe store, but his body was angled toward us, slight, calculated. I didn't say a word. I just grabbed Emily's hand and pulled her toward the bookstore. "What's wrong?" she asked, though her voice trembled. "Don't. Turn around. He's here." We moved through the aisles, ducking behind shelves, weaving through shoppers. I turned to glance behind us, and there he was, just far enough not to look suspicious, just close enough to remind us he was there. I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo. He didn't flinch. He just smiled. Not wide, not exaggerated. Just enough. Like he knew I wouldn't do anything, like this was his game, and we were losing. I marched us straight to mall security. I showed them the photos, explained everything, my voice tight and breathless. "He's been following my daughter for days. He's here right now." The guard picked up his radio. They started scanning the cameras. A second guard walked the corridors, but by the time we turned around, he was gone. Just like that. No sign. No trail. Emily was pale, shaking. She didn't say a word the entire ride home. And when we got inside, she locked her bedroom window herself. That's when I knew it had finally sunk in. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This was real. At 2:47 a.m. that night, my phone buzzed. It was a message request from an unlisted profile. No name, no profile picture. "Nice seeing you today." I dropped my phone, literally dropped it. My fingers went numb. My throat tightened. I ran to check the cameras. All systems were up. Backyard, front porch, driveway, nothing. No movement. But that was the worst part. He didn't need to be seen. He was telling me, "I'm watching anyway." I called the police. They took it more seriously this time. Maybe because of the message, or maybe because they could hear the panic in my voice. An officer came to the house, took a report, logged the images and the phone number, but then he gave me the line I was dreading. "Without a direct threat or physical contact, there's not much we can do. Just stay aware. Document everything. Change your routine." Change your routine? What does that even mean when the routine is just living? We started staying home more. I pulled Emily out of school for a few days. We slept with our doors open. I left lights on in every hallway. I installed more cameras, new locks, motion sensors, anything. And still, the feeling didn't leave. That, he was always nearby, watching, waiting. And one night, as I got into bed, I saw something that shattered me. A crumpled piece of paper, left just inside the front door. No envelope, no footprint, nothing on the cameras, just a note. "You're smart to be scared, but not smart enough." That note was the final crack, the last little thread snapping in my chest. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just moved. I packed a bag for Emily, then one for me. Called my brother in Pennsylvania and told him we were coming. Tonight. He didn't ask why. He didn't have to. We left everything. The house, the furniture, my job, our life. I didn't even wait for sunrise. But as I pulled out of our driveway, for the last time I looked in the rearview mirror. There was a car, parked at the end of the street. Engine off, no lights, and inside, a silhouette. I couldn't see the face, but I didn't need to. I knew it was him. I didn't stop driving. 2 weeks passed. We stayed with my brother. Emily slept in his guest room. I added security to his house. New locks, new cameras, a tracker app on both our phones. No sightings, no new messages, nothing. And for a moment I thought maybe we had escaped. Maybe monsters don't always win. But then came the knock. Not at the front door, at Emily's window. Second floor. She screamed. My brother ran out with his hunting rifle. I checked the footage. And again, nothing. No figure, no sound, no proof. Just her shaking in the corner of the room, saying over and over again. He smiled at me through the glass. The police came. Again. They swept the area. Again. And again they found nothing, because he didn't need to leave evidence. He didn't want to break in. He wanted us to know we were never out. That our fear was the real cage. That he could come, close, closer than we could stand, and disappear just as easily. We moved again after that. Changed our names, deleted social media, cut every digital tie we had, and for months, silence. But even now, I don't feel safe. Not really. I still check the cameras every night at 2:47 a.m. I still keep a go bag by the door. I still sleep with my phone unlocked, my keys on the nightstand and a knife in the drawer, because I know what most people don't. Not all stalkers want to be caught. Some just want you to live with the fear, to always wonder, where is he now? What does he know? When will he come back and the truth that eats me alive? I don't think he ever really left. There's something wrong with hospitals at 3 a.m. I've worked enough night shifts to know the difference between quiet and wrong. Quiet is peaceful. But wrong. Wrong feels like the air is holding its breath. Like the walls are listening. Like something is watching. You tell yourself it's just fatigue. Sleep deprivation playing tricks. But some nights, it's not the exhaustion. It's something else. Something that stands just outside the edge of logic, waiting for you to acknowledge it. My name is Evan Miller. I've been a nurse for almost 12 years. I've worked in 3 different hospitals across Ohio, and I can say with confidence, St. Luke's Medical Center in Dayton is the one that still haunts me. It wasn't haunted in the traditional sense. No floating nurses or bleeding walls, just something. Something I felt as soon as I took the night shift there in October 2021. It started off like any other rotation. I remember the night it happened because the moon was this bloated yellow orb hanging above the parking lot, and the air felt like it hadn't moved all day. Still. Stale. Off. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in that low, irritating hum hospitals always have. I was stationed on the East Wing, the older part of the hospital that hadn't been renovated since the 80s. The floors creaked, the air vents wheezed, the hallway lights flickered more than they should. We joked about it being the ghost wing, at least we used to. That night was dead quiet. No code blues, no agitated patients, just me. Some half-finished charts, and the occasional beep from a heart monitor echoing down the hall like sonar in a cave. Around 3:07 a.m., I stood up, stretched my legs, and grabbed my tablet. Time to make rounds. I moved room by room, scanning, vitals, updating notes. My steps echoed under the dim lights, the kind that made the world look drained and waxy. When I reached room 209, I stopped. No reason, just hesitation. Like walking into a memory you don't know you have. I pushed the door open. Inside, a man sat upright in bed. He looked to be in his early 60s, balding, gaunt, but with a kindness in his face. His eyes caught mine immediately, alert, steady. "Good evening," I said, forcing a smile. "Just checking in. How are you feeling tonight?" He nodded once. "Much better. Thanks to you." There was something odd about his voice. It was calm, deliberate. Like every word had been rehearsed, not forced, not robotic, but smoothed out. I chalked it up to the quiet, my brain trying to find tension where there wasn't any. I glanced at his vitals. Everything read normal. Heart rate steady. BP fine. Any pain? I asked, tapping at my tablet. No, not tonight. He paused. The quiet is nice. Peaceful. I nodded, writing it down. If you need anything, just press the call button. His eyes didn't leave me. I don't think I will. That's when I noticed it. There was no wristband on him. I blinked. That was against protocol. Every patient is tagged at intake. I frowned and looked down at my chart. Room 209, unassigned. I looked up, suddenly unsure if I had the right room. The man tilted his head slightly as if amused. I get visitors sometimes, he said, voice low. But not like you. My skin prickled. I'm sorry. Before I could finish, the lights above flickered, just once. A quick blink, but when they came back on, the bed was empty. I froze. The room was the same. Blanket folded, pillow fluffed. But he was gone. I stood there for several seconds, feeling the cold wrap around my spine like a rope. Hello? I said, my voice trembling. No response. I backed out slowly, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Back at the nurse's station, I found Marlene, the charge nurse for the shift. Her face was buried in paperwork. Who's in room 209? I asked. She looked up, confused. Nobody. That room's been closed off for repairs. Leak in the ceiling. My mouth went dry. No, I was just in there. There's a man sitting in the bed. Her face changed. Slowly. Subtly. Like a memory was trying to push its way up, but she didn't want it to. What did he look like? She asked, her voice suddenly lower. I told her. Every detail. Marlene's hand trembled slightly as she reached for the keyboard. Pulling up the hallway feed, she said. Just to be sure. We watched the footage together. There I was, walking down the hallway toward room 209. We watched as I pushed open the door and stepped inside an empty room. No patient, no conversation, no one sitting up in bed. But I was still talking. We could see it. I moved toward the vitals monitor. I tapped on my tablet. I even nodded, like someone had spoken to me. But there was no one there. Marlene didn't say a word. She just leaned back in her chair and stared at me like she'd seen a ghost, or maybe like she knew I had. I didn't sleep the next day. I tried. I lay in bed, blinds drawn tight, covers pulled up, but all I could see when I closed my eyes was that man's face. Calm, almost grateful, like he'd been waiting for me, and something else. Something deeper than fear. Recognition. He looked at me like he knew me. Back at the hospital that night, everything felt altered. The halls didn't look different, but the silence felt heavier. Like the walls were straining to hold something back. I didn't tell anyone else what happened. Marlene hadn't either. We avoided the topic like a wound too tender to touch. Still, I needed to prove I wasn't crazy. So after midnight, I went back to room 209. I stood outside for a while, just staring at the door. It was locked now. A small piece of blue tape marked, "Maintenance and Do Not Enter," was stretched across the handle. I shouldn't have gone in, but I needed to know. I peeled the tape off and opened the door. The room was colder than I remembered. The air had a sharpness to it like metal. The lights inside were off, but the hallway glow spilled in behind me. It was empty, same as before, except not quite. There was something on the bed, a single patient wristband, lying right in the center. Of the mattress, I picked it up. Evan Miller. Dobb, 0214, 1986, my own name. My birthday. My hand started shaking. My first thought was, someone's messing with me. A cruel joke. But that didn't make sense. No one had access. The room was locked. Then I flipped the band over, written in small shaky pen on the back, I see you too. I dropped it like it burned me. I backed out of the room and shut the door hard. My pulse was jackhammering in my ears. I felt like I was going to throw up. I went straight to security. "Pull the feed," I told the guy on duty. "Room 209, last 30 minutes. He gave me a look but did as I asked. I watched the monitor as the footage played. It showed me walking down the hallway, stopping at 209. Then it froze. The screen glitched. Just for a second, a single flicker, and when it came back, the timestamp had jumped 10 minutes ahead. 10 minutes of footage. Gone. The tech tried to recover it, but it was just static. Snowy white noise with bursts of warped audio. In one frame, just one, the kind you'd miss if you blinked, I saw something. A figure in the corner of the hallway. It wasn't me. It wasn't a nurse. And it was watching the camera. Staring. Directly into it. I stepped back from the monitor. My whole body felt ice cold. The tech just looked confused, like he hadn't seen what I did. That's when the message came in. My hospital tablet, only used for charting and internal messages, buzzed once. A new notification. No sender. Thank you for coming back. My breath hitched. I looked around the security office. No one else had a tablet. No one could have sent that. Our system didn't allow anonymous messages. My fingers trembled as I tried to delete it, but it wouldn't go away. The screen dimmed, then flashed black for just a second. When it came back on, the background wallpaper had changed. It was a photo. Me, standing in room 209. But I wasn't alone. Behind me, standing in the corner, almost, swallowed by the shadows, was the man from the night before. His face was twisted now, no longer calm. He was grinning, wide, unnatural, his teeth too many, too sharp. I threw the tablet across the room. It shattered against the floor, screen splintering like glass under pressure. The security guy jumped, up. "Jesus, Evan, I don't know how that—" I stopped. What the hell could I say? He stared at me, concerned now, like he was seeing cracks forming. I left early that night. I told them I was sick. Maybe I was. But something followed. Me home. I didn't realize it at first, just small things. My bedroom door cracked open when I knew I'd closed it. Lights turning on in the kitchen at night. My phone buzzing at exactly 3:07 a.m. with blank notifications. And the dreams. God, the dreams. I started waking up at the same time every night. 3:07, like clockwork. And every time I'd wake up standing, in the hallway outside my bedroom, looking into the dark, breathing hard, as if I had just been speaking to someone or listening. The final straw was the voicemail, left at 3:07 a.m., no number, no caller ID. I pressed play, half asleep, static. Low at first. Then a whisper through the crackle. "I'm not done with you." I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that room. Not just room 209 anymore. I saw a black corridor, narrow and endless, lit only by the faint flicker of failing fluorescent lights. And at the end of that corridor, he waited. Smiling. Waiting for me to come back. My apartment didn't feel like home anymore. It felt watched. I unplugged my TV after it turned on by itself 3 nights in a row. I tossed my tablet in the dumpster. I even disconnected my Wi-Fi, thinking maybe it was a hacker, a sick prank, something I could rationalize. But you can't debug your own mind, not when it's being rewritten. On my next shift at the hospital, I found a note on my locker. No name, just a sticky note, scribbled in black ink. He's still in room 209. I hadn't said a word to anyone, not even Marlene. I hadn't told them what I'd been seeing or hearing. I barely trusted myself to speak at all. But someone, or something, wanted me to go back. And the worst part? I felt like I had to. The compulsion grew stronger every minute. I couldn't concentrate, couldn't finish rounds. I just stood there in the hallway staring at that door. I felt like gravity itself was pulling me in. The tape was gone this time. The door unlocked, as if it had never been sealed at all. I stepped inside. The room was dark, darker than it should have been, even with the lights off. The shadows moved, slow and deliberate, like they were alive. The air was freezing, not cold, wrong, heavy, metallic, filled with that hospital rot of old bandages and something deeper, something that smelled like grief. And there he was, sitting on the edge of the bed, hands folded calmly in his lap. Only now his eyes were hollow, not metaphorically. I mean literally hollow, dark pits where his pupils should have been, oozing black. His mouth was too wide, like someone had cut into the sides of it and kept pulling until his jaw unhinged. He spoke, but his mouth didn't move. "You let me in." I couldn't move. My legs felt nailed to the floor. My heart wasn't just pounding. It was slamming against my ribs like it wanted out. He stood up. His body didn't move right. Each step was delayed, like watching something walk underwater, too slow, too smooth, like time was bending around him. I was never supposed to leave. He stopped just inches from me. I couldn't breathe. His presence was a physical thing. A pressure on my chest, in my skull, behind my eyes. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled something out. Another wristband. He held it up to my face. This one didn't have my name. It said Evan Miller, date of death OCT 29/2021, time 3:07 a.m. I shook my head. No, I'm not. I choked on the words. He didn't answer, just raised one finger and pressed it to my forehead. And suddenly, I remembered. The crash. I'd been in a car accident 3 nights ago after my shift. Hit by a truck running a red light. The police said I died instantly, but I didn't feel dead. I never saw a light, no tunnels, no peace. I woke up here, at the hospital, still doing rounds, still checking vitals, still clinging to a routine so normal, so comforting, that I never noticed the truth. I never left. Room 209 wasn't just haunted. It was a door. Not to hell. Not heaven. Something in between. Something that keeps the restless, the broken, the unfinished. People like me. The man stepped back, and the room began to distort. The walls stretched, the lights flickered, and the ceiling melted into a black sky filled with screaming static. And I understood then. He wasn't haunting the room. He was the room. An echo of every soul trapped in that space, devoured by the silence, bound to repeat their final moments until they faded into shadow. And now, so was I. The next thing I remember is sitting in bed. Room 209. Lights dim, blanket folded neatly, vitals steady. A nurse walks in, someone new. I smile at him. "Good evening," I say. "Just doing a quick check-in?" He nods, scribbles on his chart, asks how I'm feeling. I smile a little wider. "Much better," I say. "Thanks to you. If you've survived this far and you're one of those who love fear and terror, then don't waste any time. I kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any content. The video you're watching on screen is just a taste of what's coming. Watch it. Thank you for being here, and see you next time, if you're capable of handling what's to come.